Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a very interesting set of discs. Recently I was talking about recordings by Klaus Flor, a conductor who's really good, especially in the German repertoire and that sort of, for Mendelssohn. He made a Mendelssohn box that's absolutely lovely. He was also doing Martin symphonies. They were very good. He's really a talented guy, but he's had a very spotty career. And I was, sort of expressing some curiosity as to where he was and what he was doing. And then this thing showed up on my doorstep. Mahler Symphonies 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, all the odd ones, odd numbered ones, that is, with the Orchestra Sinfonica di Milano, that famous Mahler orchestra. And, I was very curious. It's wonderful that these happen. They seem to be live recordings. And I plonked them on. And much as I expected, given this guy's pedigree, they're really good performances. Now, let me be clear about it. Now I have to qualify it, right? I have to qualify it. Then we can talk about some of the details. The Orchestra Sinfonica di Milano is not going to be anybody's favorite Mahler orchestra. They play quite well. It's a tribute to just the elevated standards of musical performance generally that they get through these things with really a welcome degree of confidence. The sonics are not great, quite frankly. They seem to be somewhat muffled and recessed, recorded from well back in the hall. And so you don't have the brightness and edge and the wealth of detail that you expect from a really good studio recording or even a really good live recording. They are souvenirs of an occasion. And that said, they were some pretty damn good occasions because Flor really gets Mahler. It's just so exciting to hear a conductor who knows how to put the life and the jazz into this music. Again, it's not clinical. It's not, it's not emotionally withdrawn and that sort of, let's just play the notes properly in time and let it go. Nothing is underplayed. If anything, he pushes hard. One of my favorite moments of these performances is in the first movement of the Third Symphony. What they call the Western Wind section, the development section, when all hell breaks loose, right? When the winds are screaming at the top with the piccolos on top of the march theme, just like a Sousa march. And then the strings go like this, and then the brass and percussion come in, and he's just tearing into it. He's really pushing, and they're really digging in and playing. Oh, it's just marvelous. It's absolutely marvelous. The orchestra, like I said, it's not one of your top Mahler orchestras in the universe. The brass, could have more oomph, some more power. The horns turn watery now and again. They have some strange object that they call a tam-tam. I don't know where that comes from. The woodwinds could squeal. You know what a great Mahler performance sounds like. This is a very good one by an orchestra that's really, really trying its best to give Flor what he wants. And the fact that he gets them to do this is really kind of amazing. But just a few notes on the various performances. Number one, it's fresh, it's exciting. The scherzo is nice and rustic. The funeral march is creepy and spooky. The finale, he tears into the finale very, very nicely, creating a great deal of Sturm und Drang. Flor is really good at Sturm und Drang. He gets the angst. He really does. And he keeps the music moving where it slows down. It was really good. The third, as I've already told you, has some unbelievably splendid moments. It really does. The whole performance is beautifully shaped. The soloists are good. Everybody sings well. It's all that. It just needs to have a more vivid recording. I would love to hear Flor be given a really, really first-rate orchestra and then have the opportunity to turn him loose on this music with his interpretations because they have so much visceral energy. So different from the usual snoozy, effete Mahler that we get nowadays because everybody can play it and they can all make it sound easy. The fifth is terrific. I mean, he doesn't set a foot wrong anywhere in the fifth. I was so impressed with the fifth. The second movement, Mahler marks mit größter Vehemenz, with vehemence and the highest vehemence. And oh, is it vehement? Okay, there's no tam-tam at the climax. You know, like I said, there's some things that sort of go missing here, but wow, it's exciting. It's just really exciting. The scherzo is bucolic and very nicely played by the principal horn. Mostly it's really surprising how well this orchestra takes to the music. Of course, a great deal of Mahler has Italian roots, as I pointed out in a video, which you can go look at, and also in a paper that I presented at a scholarly symposium. Very interesting, the influence of Verdi and the Italians on Mahler. So they're not entirely at sea when it comes to that music. The funeral dirge in the first movement of the third, dum, da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum. Well, just listen to the last scene of La Traviata. You'll know exactly where Mahler got it from. Anyway, so there's that one. And like I said, the fifth is terrific. The seventh is terrific. Beautiful, nocturnal. It has no terrors for Mr. Flor. I mean, the two Nachtmusik movements are evocative and very, very well paced, beautifully paced. The violin portamento at the beginning of the second Nachtmusik is really a little strange. I mean, they are really schmoozing it up, almost to the point of being like out of tune. I mean, it's very, very, very odd. The scherzo is slithery and very swift, and the finale is cacophonous and weird and loony. And again, here you feel the lack of the last level of brilliance from both the engineers and the orchestra. And the ninth, well, the ninth is not one of those super duper slow, ultra decadent performances. I mean, it's very much the work of a guy who was only 50, and he was at the peak of his powers when he wrote it. It's always common to talk about, how it's death obsession and decadence and all that stuff. And, he was dying. But remember, at the time he wrote the ninth, he was perfectly fine. It wasn't until he did the 10th that he was dying. He was working on the 10th. So the tempos are generally pretty quick. It's all on one disc, which is fine. The rondo burlesque snaps and snarls very nicely. The climax of the first movement, well, it's a bit limp. It doesn't splat when it hits bottom. It just sort of smushes into it. Although the timpani pound and the trombones blast and all that stuff. So, like I said, it's not perfect. It's a really, really excellent vision of the music, performed to, let's say 90%. Maybe, Flor could tell us how dissatisfied he was if he was. I think that this is an indication of a real Mahler conductor, a seriously fine Mahler conductor. I would love for him to be able to record 2-4-6-8. That would be marvelous. If there's still a possibility of that happening, then go for it, even if it isn't perfect. I think, Flor's vision of the music deserves to be captured. And I'm just impressed. I'm impressed by what he wants to do and the degree to which he gets it done in a place and with musicians who you would never expect to be able to do it so well. So good for you. Good for the Orchestra Sinfonica di Milano. And congratulations for being smart enough to hire Klaus Peter Flor to do Mahler with. And congratulations to Maestro Flor, a true Mahlerian, no question about it. This, by the way, is available, I think, from the orchestra. It's an orchestra-produced production. I don't know how you'd get it, but it's available, and it's worth hearing if you can. I don't know if I'd invest a fortune, but it's worth hearing if you can. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.